John Heilemann, co-managing editor of Bloomberg Politics, is covering the Wisconsin primary. He is with us from Milwaukee. John, good morning.
Hi, Charlie. How you doing?
We're doing well. We're good to have you there from Wisconsin, where this important primary is coming up. Trump is already behind by about 10 points in one poll to Ted Cruz. What impact will this controversy have?
Well, it's not going to be positive for him, Charlie. I think, it comes at the end of a bad week for Trump, about as bad a week as he's had in a long time. If you think about this controversy coming on the heels of the Corey Lewandowski arrest for battery, coming on the heels of the fight that Trump and Ted Cruz were in, where many people thought Trump went over the line in terms of criticizing Ted Cruz's wife in a kind of unpleasant way. It's the most sustained kind of bad set of news cycles that Trump has had in a while. You pointed out that Marquette poll has Trump down 10 to Ted Cruz. That was all before Scott Walker endorsed Ted Cruz. So it looks right now like Donald Trump could be headed for not just a defeat, but a pretty definitive or clear defeat at the hands of Ted Cruz in a week.
What do you think makes it different this time, John? Because every time he says something controversial, his numbers seem to go up.
Gail, it is the most dangerous thing you can do in American politics right now to predict the death of Donald Trump. And so I'm not going to do that. But I am going to say that it's an interesting, unusual situation here in Wisconsin where all the focus is on this state. We've had months now of multi-primary election nights. Here it's just one state. And this state has the confluence of talk radio. Conservative talk radio here is anti-Trump. That's unusual. The Republican establishment is firmly anti-Trump. And you've got this huge core of suburban Republican women who seem to not be reacting well to some of the particular nature of these controversies that Trump has gotten into in the last week. And that confluence of things is putting him in a pretty vulnerable situation, to say the least.
You mentioned Scott Walker and that endorsement. We've seen it before where there's an endorsement for Cruz and it hasn't had an impact. What's the impact this time?
Right. Well, Scott Walker is a very, very controversial figure in the state of Wisconsin, but not among Republicans, where, according to the recent polling, he's got an 80% approval rating among Republicans in this state. So he's a very popular guy. He has a real machinery, a real team. He brings field to bear here, and so I don't think it would not be definitive or determinative. But coming on the heels of everything else that was working to Trump's disadvantage here, it's like one more thing. I don't want to say nail in the coffin because that's a cliche, but it's kind of the cherry on top of the sundae for Ted Cruz in a way.
John, what does the Democratic race look like?
Charlie, it looks right now like Bernie Sanders has got the energy and the momentum here. Secretary Clinton has not been in the state very much. She was here for a couple days and then left. It looks like now I think the Clintons are coming back to this state this weekend. Bill Clinton's going to be here on Friday. I think Hillary Clinton's coming back on Saturday. But Sanders has basically been camped out here for the better part of a week. And one of the things that's been true in this Democratic race is that if Bernie Sanders has time in a state where he has a sustained run and spends money on advertising and does a lot of personal appearances, he moves votes. And that's something that even the Clinton campaign acknowledges. I think they basically assume that Sanders is going to win here. The only question is by how much.
Thanks, John.